Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
I forgot to ask if you're ready. Good? Okay. Well, I'll just trim some off the front. It's no big deal. I'm your host, John Turk, and on this episode of the Blind Apex Podcast, we're talking K-Series 2.0. We're not talking about the 2-liter version specifically, but the second time we're talking about the K-Series. Joining me, Honda's version of Sanford & Son, professional Facebook marketplace troll, and the greatest unfounded basketball talent in North Carolina history, Chad Slagg.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So I needed you to come on the show because you're the longest tenured K-Series racer I know. I wouldn't say in the world, but that I know. When did you start racing the K-Series engines?
I got my first swap K20A JDM Type R probably in late 2003. Justin Colbert and I bought a pair of them from Larry at Import Auto Salvage in Marion, North Carolina. And then we installed them probably early midsummer 2003. And I believe it was end of 2003 that I actually raced with the K20. It might have been CMP was the first event with a K20 in the car.
Okay.
With NASA, Mid-Atlantic, probably late 2003, early 2004.
Right. So you're looking at almost 2 decades on this platform. Okay.
Correct.
And then I saw recently, because you used to have an Integra Champ car.
Correct.
Now you're taking out an 8th gen, right?
Okay. Yes. Yep.
So that's a K-native car with a whole, I'll call it different issues potential, but we'll get into that. I've only had two issues, and none of them have been, one of them's my fault. The other one just failed. So, but we'll get into that. How long have you been racing? I mean, obviously since at least that time, but you started earlier than that.
Yeah, that first year of Honda Challenge, which I think was 2002, could have been 2001. Again, my first race was at CMP. I think I was 2 races into the season. When I first started racing, I had done probably 4 events with NASA and probably a handful with John Felton, and I think it was Speed Ventures back in the early 2000s. I don't remember exactly.
This is what happens when we're
and
old.
Also Car Guys. I had done yeah. Car Guys I did a couple events with. I went out and flagged, and you could earn a weekend by flagging. So I went out and flagged, so I didn't have to pay money for an HPDE, and then, moved up and did 4 events with NASA. And I think my 4th one, I did my comp school. And then I was off running, racing ever since.
That speaks volumes to how the HPDE program has evolved.
And I believe in the HPDE program. Like, I'm a firm believer in that because I do race other organizations, and you do see a difference in drivers. That guys who have actually had time on track, and they do drive more the school line when they come up in a driver's education program, instead of throwing them to the wolves. Everybody who's come on board with us on the Champ car has had some driver school stuff with us or driver school at some point. Usually most of the guys have 5 to 6 HPDE weekends. So it's not like we're throwing them to the wolves, because there is a vast difference of skill level at Champ Car. And even within the NASA program, there's a vast difference between a rookie and a seasoned veteran. You pick up all sorts of stuff over the course of time when you're racing.
Oh, for sure. For sure. What are you driving these days?
I have a 1999 Honda Civic SI with a K20 currently in the car, but the first race it will have a K24 this year. Going to be adding a bunch of weight and horsepower and see if that helps lap times come down.
So you're racing H1. So
H1 and ST4 will be the two classes I race within NASA.
Have you always raced H1?
I have always raced H1 since my very first car, 94 EG with a B20 VTEC. And I've always had H1, never had a desire to go slower than H1.
Well, the H2 cars are pretty fast, so.
Oh, they are. H2 has come a long ways, and we won't get into how those are really H1 cars, but
they've evolved a lot, and
they have evolved to beyond what H1 used to be, other than allowing cams. And most of the drivers in Honda in the Mid-Atlantic H2 are very seasoned veterans and very capable drivers. And there's guys that are very good drivers that, you put them in an H1 car and they're going to be fast as well.
I mean, you see that with Bradfield, even with his new car. I mean, obviously they're working.
Oh yeah, that car is going to be smoking.
Obviously rules need to get worked out and massaged a little bit, but right out of the gate he was smoking. So awesome. Yep. All right. So how many weekends do you have under your belt with that 8th gen Civic so far?
I have 2.5 hours in the car, a total of 2.5 hours of driving.
And did it make it I know were you guys practicing or doing a Champ Car race?
We did the Champ Car race. What was it? 8 and 7 at VIR North. 8 hours one day, 7 hours on Sunday.
Did you have any issues with that car?
Our issues that we had were the alignment shop did not tighten the centric bolts for the front camber. So 3 hours in, a guy took a bump on the front and came in saying the car's acting weird. I moved the wheel around. I said, okay, we got to go fix the camber bolts. Both were loose. Both sides were loose. Other than that, we had no issue out of the car. Other than it will not go 2 hours on a tank of gas.
Oh, no, she's thirsty. Real thirsty.
Yeah, we got... I got 2.5 hours on my stint. It was not too... We had a red flag, so I sat for an hour, so I was able to drive a total of 2.5 hours that time. But most of my session was in the rain. Once things dried up and lap times came down to, high 40s, the gas consumption quickly went. Everybody else was getting about an hour and 20 to an hour and 27 minutes out of the car. And, when you have to have a 2 hour stint out of the car, that's just not going to cut it.
Right.
So we will have to find a solution to that.
These K powered cars, they do consume more fuel. I don't know any other way to say it, but they consume more fuel than the B series cars are consuming.
In my H1 car, in full tank in the SI is 12 point something gallons. I literally can go 39 and a half minutes of full throttle with no caution flags. But at that 39 and a half, I start fuel starving at turn 3, VIR full. And then coming into the flat S's, there's another fuel starve. As long as I get the checker, white flag or checkered at that 39 and a half minutes, I'm fine. But anything over that, I am not going to make it.
Yeah.
And I'm only making 245 horsepower out of that. But with the H1 car, I'm able to go full throttle sooner because I'm on slicks and not a street tire. You're full throttle for a longer period of time versus a quote unquote street car that's just got a cage in it.
Which is your champ
because
car.
For all intensive purposes, yeah, it's a champ car. It's a stock engine. There's nothing consuming more fuel other than going full throttle.
All right, so let's get into these engines a little bit. Over the years, what have you found to be the weaknesses of the engines?
Over revving and misshifting. But, that's said tongue in cheek, because even with the B series stuff, an over rev and a misshift is going to do damage.
I don't think any car survives that, to be honest.
Correct. That has been the main failure that I have seen and experienced. Is the only time there's an issue is when the engine gets zinged.
Yeah.
And we typically put valve springs, SuperTech 92-pound valve springs in all our K series engines that are going to see any amount of RPM for sustained period. I don't like titanium retainers because they are a wear item and need to be checked and
often,
checked frequently. I've seen more titanium retainers fail than I've seen stock retainers fail. So we always go with the stock retainer on a aftermarket valve spring.
You prefer those SuperTech 92 pounds over the Type R valve springs?
I don't know what the seat pressure is on the stock valve springs. It's supposed to be stiffer. I have not checked them. But the Type R stuff it's a limited production run, so you're not there's more support, and it's easier to get the SuperTech valve springs, and there's no cost savings via a SuperTech versus a stock valve spring.
Yeah. Well, some of us are limited by rules. Have you ever looked at the S2000 or put S2000 valve springs in a K series?
Not in a race car. Some street cars I have, but those guys weren't, at 9,000 RPMs for 40 minutes to 8 hours. And in the endurance stuff, we try to keep the RPMs down just to help the engine. The endurance racing is all about survival. You keep RPMs down, and it does not hurt. There's less chance of failure. There's less chance of a misshift. If you do misshift, you're not going to zing it to 95. You're going to go to the rev limiter at 88, 8600, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm just speaking. I run up to 8800 on stock valve train on a Z3, and I guess I'm running on borrowed time, but
no, I wouldn't say that you're running on borrowed time. It's a matter of helping things. If you do zing it, you're less likely to float the valve, which means you are way less likely to have contact valve to valve or even valve to piston. So it's just it's a $300 insurance policy, and it doesn't guarantee that it saves the engine if you miss shift.
There's no guarantee. You can't guarantee on that.
No. It's just a peace of mind knowing, hey, if I do something dumb, it might not cost me an engine. I know if you zing an engine with a stock valve spring, you're done. You're going to drop a valve.
Knock on wood. I have recorded 2 zings,
lots of it,
and no problems. So,
how high did you zing?
Almost 10K.
You are very lucky.
According to the data log, anyway.
We had a driver, first lap or second lap in, zinged it right in front of us on the front straight, and I would have bet money it went to 10K. We haven't checked data, but it lasted 14 hours after that, so we were okay. But he zinged it big time on the front straight.
Yeah. So you think the valve train is the biggest weakness of these engines? I mean, are you going to assume that everybody's doing a ported A2 oil pump? Is that just a given these days for racing?
I would say on any engine that's on track is going to have at least a stock A2 oil pump. My H1 car has a stock oil pump, and I'm revving it to 92 when I need to, and I'm on the rev limiter on the back straight in 6th at 137, 138 miles an hour, and I'm bouncing the rev limiter. Oil pressure maintains. I log my data. I log data for the oil pressure just for that purpose of making sure I'm not dropping oil pressure when I'm doing that. And I haven't had any cavitation issues out of a stock oil pump up to 9,200.
Okay. That's fair. Most people have a 4-piston, or it's not rocket science to actually port one, but
no, it's not. You just go in and open it and help the flow.
Right. Yeah, smooth the edges, round them off a little bit. It's not hard.
Yep.
You need to clean the crap out of it when you're done doing it, but outside of that, it's not hard to do.
Yeah, some hot water and about 4 cans of brake cleaner.
I just left mine in the parts washer for like 2 days with it running all over it. So.
That would do it too.
But yeah. So the oil pump, because we're talking all the K series. So we have we have the geared oil pump, and then the balance shaft oil pumps. I just don't trust those balance shaft pumps. It's just too much going on to be revving them as high as we do on the racetrack.
Absolutely. And there's a weight advantage by going to the A2 oil pump. It's probably about 6 pounds lighter. And I don't know how much the balance shaft weighs, but rotational mass, that all matters. I've never dynoed the same engine swapping oil pumps, so I couldn't tell you if it has a horsepower advantage or not. I would presume if you got it on an engine dyno, there'd be a slight gain in horsepower, but it wouldn't be anything I would be concerned about. In fact, our Champ car has the stock oil pump on, and it's a 240,000 mile engine.
They'll keep going.
We've got one. Yeah, we're going to keep going with it. We burned probably less than a quarter quart of oil every driver stint, so every hour and a half, we were at a quarter to a half a quart of oil adding. But any VTEC engine, you're going to have to add oil to. I haven't, in my 20-some years of racing these, I've never not had to add oil to a VTEC engine.
Yeah, over time, you're definitely going to need to, over the course of a weekend, it starts to get a little weary when you're talking about after every session, you got to put in half a quart. Okay, that's excessive, but we're not talking excess.
Yeah, in a 20-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute qualifying session, if you've got to add oil or check your catch can after the session, and you've got to add a half a quart or so of oil, I would be concerned. But after an hour and a half and adding a quarter quart of oil, I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah, I check it after every session, but I usually only find myself topping off literally Saturday night when we come off after the last race. I'm like, oh, need a little top here, quarter so. But I run extra oil in these engines. It's sort of what we do.
Yes.
Some people are a half quart, some people are a whole quart, some people have the massive Unit 2 oil pans. It's like changing a diesel truck when you change the oil on your race car. But
yep, 10 quarts.
Is that what you're running, the Unit 2?
On my H1 car, I've got a Unit 2 oil pan, and I've been data logging oil pressure now for, I guess, since 2016. And I was chasing a falling out of VTEC in turn 3 in the flat S's for 2 years. And I tried everything. I tried the blocks, the one out of Europe, the Agent Orange, Clockworks Orange. Yeah, Clockwork. I tried the Track Tough. I had a Mugen oil pan. I tried a Spoon oil pan. Tried those in conjunction with baffles, and I would always drop oil pressure somewhere on track. With the Unit 2, I maintain oil pressure the whole race. I'm not falling out of VTEC. There's no dip like I see without the Unit 1. And I don't know if that's attributed to the extra capacity or if it truly is the baffle design that they've done, but it's a phenomenal unit. The Champ car, we have a stock oil pan, and I didn't check the data logs yet on oil pressure, but I wasn't falling out of VTEC in corners. But we also run probably a quart over full on the Champ car.
Yeah, I mean, so on the Champ car, you're just running stock overfill on a Z3 pan, but on your H1 car, you're running
Correct.
You're running the Unit 2 oil pan.
Correct.
If you want, I'll send you. I don't know if I have a 9th gen still. I'm running a 9th gen pan. Because it has the right height for the A2 pump that I put on it. And then I put
Correct.
the, without having to modify the pickup. I didn't want to touch the pickup. I'm afraid the pickup will fall out one day because I'm dumb and I don't tighten it or whatever. I didn't want to touch that. So I went to that, and then I made a new rear mount for it. But the pan got sent out to Track Tough to get that, and so far it seems to have worked, except for when I run under full. If it goes under full, I will lose VTEC, so I always have to be half over.
Yep, absolutely. And we are going to not build an engine, but do an OEM rebuild on another engine for the Champ car, and that will get the A2 oil pump and a better oil pan, just to help preserve the engine. It's all about preserving your equipment for as long as you can. Right. And we're still doing grassroots racing, and not everybody has an unlimited budget. And the longer you can push off or maintain an engine without having to do a rebuild is always better on the pocketbook.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And unfortunately, inflation's hit everything. It's not, well, the B series engines are the B series engines. They went to the moon, but that rising tide rose all ships. So I bought this car in the nick of time, and then I didn't start looking for spare engines and transmissions until it was probably 20-30% more expensive to look for backup stuff. So
yeah, the Z3 transmissions are running about 1,500 in stock form. You can find somebody who needs some money, and you might get it for 1,200. But with you having the 8th gen Civic, you need to run the Z3 trans, or you need the casing for the Z3 because it's got the speed off of the countershaft, whereas the O2 to O4s have the speed sensor on the back, like the
right.
B series.
I mean, they're Legos, but they all have their own issues.
Their own nuances, right. Yes.
So let's see. We've covered you tune. So let's talk a little bit about tuning these engines. I know that we found these things are super efficient at pulling air, even when you close down the throttle bodies. Like if you just keep letting it eat, she just starts pulling more and more air, and it matters. It will slow it down, but it takes forever to slow one of these down when you're on the dyno trying to pull power out of it with air. So
correct. I think I've tuned 4 8th gens for SCCA and 3 for NASA. And in the STL program, I think they need a 54 millimeter restriction.
It's either 52
if I remember
or 54.
Correctly.
It's one of those two.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous considering it's a 68 millimeter stock throttle body. In the last one I tuned, it made 212. That was a fully built STL engine. I think it was by, I'm not even going to say the name because I'd get it wrong. But it had the maximum lift cam, which in STL has to be a regrind because the OEM cam is too big. But then it had 11.5 compression pistons, and with the 54 or with the restrictor, it made 212 horsepower. I tuned our Champ car the very next day, and we made 215 with no restriction. It's kind of a moot point though, because one was a fully built engine, the other was a stock engine. But even some of your car, I think first pull was like 225 with no restrictions. Right. And then at the time we had to use the throttle body plate to close it to take power away. There's one other guy in H2 that was the same result. And he's in the Integra, has an Integra with a Z3, or had a Z3 at one time, and same result as you. I had to put a 50 millimeter restrictor in it. We actually put a 2-inch intake pipe on it and a dirty filter just to get it to the max power rating.
Yeah, and they're all this efficient. You look at
absolutely, it's phenomenal what Honda did with this engine.
And we're not talking just the true VTEC K series, right? Not even the CRV motors are putting down big power, as far as I'm concerned, considering they're missing a lobe.
Yeah, the last one I tuned made 200 to the wheels, and you pick up an extra 15 torque out of the K24 over the K20. And I don't know if the torque is worth it because it just spins tires because we're on the wonderful Toyo tire.
But the Proxy
and
R
that's
is
why I
coming,
went
Chad.
back.
The Proxy R.
Hey, whatever is faster,
Right.
I'll drive on. That's why I run the K20 in the H1 car. Is it just lights up? It lights up the tires at 190 foot-pounds of torque.
Oh, yeah.
Especially at coming out of turn 1, turn 2 VIR, the car is just pushing
For sure.
like crazy because the extra torque.
Well, even my K20, when it's spun up and you're getting in it hot and you're coming through, if it's not like the B series, that C5 you could just mash on the gas and keep going, right? This one you have to ease into it.
Right.
If you don't ease into it, you're
Yep.
hosed, So
Yep.
definitely a difference.
And I'm on a 245 15 tire, so my wheel and tire weight is just under 30 pounds versus probably 36 or 40 out of a 17-inch wheel tire combo.
Yeah. So you said you're going to the K24 next year. Well, I'm assuming you're testing one out for a while. You may or may not stick with it.
Yes.
What are the benefits, the pros and the cons of the K20 and the K24 to you?
I love the K20 because it revs and it makes power the whole way.
Oh, mine wanted to keep going. If we would have kept revving it, it was going to keep making more power. That's how ridiculous that this engine is.
I think when I did my ST4 forms and bouncing off the rev limiter, I think I was only 2 horsepower lower than my peak horsepower. So I think the K24 for ST4, I made 285 from 7,000 all the way to 8,800 RPM. And I'm like, man, I'm just not willing to rev a K24 that high, even with aftermarket rod bolts or forged Eagle or Wiseco or BC lightweight rods. I'm not willing to rev an engine that high for sprint racing for 20, 25 minutes at a time. It's just, when you're making your peak horsepower for 2,500 RPMs, there's no reason to keep revving it that high.
So what do you think that you should be revving your K24s to?
In a road race situation, I like to keep it at 8,600.
We're talking I'm gonna A2, K24 A2s.
A2. And, when I say this, that's a ST4 build, so you're allowed rods and pistons in that. In H1, you're not. I have revved stock A2s to 9,000. That last, what was it? The last championship, NASA championship down at Road Atlanta, 2012, 2013.
It was somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. I had K24s, and they my 2 engines I had lifted, the rod stretched and the pistons tapped the head and lifted the head and allowed coolant into the, I pushed combustion gases into the coolant system, and temperatures went up, and I wasn't able to finish. And I was revving to probably 9,000 that weekend because I was out of gear
Yep.
on the back straight.
That happens at Road Atlanta.
With a 5.4, you're topping out at 145, 146 miles an hour. And that's the advantage of the K20. It's got a much better rod stroke ratio, and it still makes power up there. Whereas if you've got a completely stock K24A2, it doesn't pull up top. You don't have that same pull, even though you're making more power and more horsepower. It's a smoother. It's just way smoother up top. So on a stock K24, I would love to keep the RPMs under 8,000, but fifth and sixth gear, you typically need more on those long straights.
Right. So you're looking at the great rod stroke ratio is the big thing for the K20s, but the torque is it's tempting you with that K24, huh?
Oh yeah, the pull out of a corner with a K24, especially turn 11, or 10A, whatever the blind left-hander is, at the top of the S's is phenomenal pull out. Going through hog pen, the pull coming out is amazing.
Yeah. So those are your benefits. You talked a little bit about gearing, so I wanted to get your opinion on it. Some folks swear to me that they never use sixth gear, that they build their cars to be a 3, 4, 5 car, and that's how they set up their final drive. Versus some of us, I'd spin 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the car.
Right.
And I'm almost out of
on paper
gear also, by the way.
On paper, the 5-speed is supposed to be faster. A 5-speed transmission, just using 3, 4, 5, is supposed to be faster. I've seen tons of data. Somebody did a data analysis had a spreadsheet that you could plug in your gear ratios and all that. And on track, it was like 13 less shifts with a 5-speed versus a 6-speed.
In their sampling.
In their sampling, correct. And you figure 1/10 of a second per shift, 0.2, you're looking at a second to 2 seconds just in shifting that the 5-speed saves. But in real world practicality, it's a 6-speed that is faster. Brent's tested both, Brent Brower and H2, and he swears by the 6-speed. I would typically agree with him on that, and I am not willing to do the work to put the 5-speed transmission in to test it.
Right.
Just because I've had the 6-speed since 2004 when I did a swap.
But did you ever knock down your final drive to run it as only a 5-speed to top out 5th?
No, I have not. That's our transmission pull and rebuild. Everything's got to come off. To test that, you'd really have to have another transmission at the track and swap them out, because you can't really compare weekends. 2 weekends are completely different on track. If I was going to do a true test, I would want both transmissions there. Go out in one, do 2 sessions, swap transmission, go 2 sessions in the other, or the next day. And hopefully you're at the same temperatures and ambience and all that.
Well,
I'm just not willing to test that.
So for those that don't know, the 5th gear in a 5-speed transmission K Series 5-speed and the fifth gear in the 6-speed transmission are the same ratios, generally speaking. There's some differences, but
Yeah, you can get the K20A Type R transmission, which I think has a 787 6 gear, and it's way shorter than a K20A2 or the Z3 transmission 6
by a
gear,
lot.
and that's it's huge. I actually had to use 6 gear on the front straight, and it was like, I think I dropped 2,800 RPM, so I dropped all the way back to 6,000 or 5,800, and you've got the torque there, but there's no power. You've dropped back probably 45 horsepower.
In what engine? With
when you do that, K20 Z3.
Yeah, but when you're flat tuned, it doesn't drop that far out.
Well, with the close ratio 6 gear, it does not drop out. But the Z3 transmission that we have in the Champ car is stock, and when you shift to 6 gear, it's just
did you have to do that? Did you have?
Yeah, I had to shift to 6.
Do you want a Type S6? It's better.
Yeah, but
got to do the work.
I don't want to have to go through that work again.
Okay.
Once we put a new engine in, we'll probably do a different 6 gear, because all the drivers complained about a 5/6 shift.
Okay. Most of us are running DC 5R 456, I believe. So.
Yes. Yeah, that as far as I know, that's the closest ratio setup that you can
from
get.
Honda.
There's nothing closer unless you go. Yeah, it's got to be OEM in Honda Challenge.
Okay, so now that we got the gear stuff sort of sorted out, what things in the transmission have issues?
We aren't drag racing.
Some of us ham-fist like we are, though.
Well, yeah, some of you do. I probably have 60 or 70 standing starts on K-Series transmissions. On a, we'll call it a slick, the Toyo RR or the RA1 back in the day that we had to race on.
Slickish,
yes. It's not the same as going to a drag strip with a fully prepped track. I understand all that, but as long as you are slow and deliberate in your shifts, there shouldn't be any issues. I haven't killed any transmissions other than when I had a clutch failure that blew apart and cracked the inner case in all my years of racing. And I've learned with the K, you've got to get all your braking done and then do your downshift.
Yeah, rowing down the gears while braking is not good for this transmission.
No, not at all. And I don't. So we'll use the back straight at VIR. I don't go 5, 6, 4, 3, turn in. I do that, but not. The clutch never comes out. I'm only doing it to line up the synchros. Okay. So there isn't a harsh engagement, and I don't go from 6, pop it into neutral, and then go to third or go to fourth for a downshift.
Why not?
Because you never know when you're going to get hit from behind or bumped and need to come off the clutch and have power to get out of a slide. Even on the street, when I'm driving with newer drivers, I tell them, hey, you don't put the car in neutral and go through the corner. Have it in gear, accelerating, so you're on power, because you never know what's going to happen in a corner. I've seen lots of drivers, just put the clutch in and just brake. Well, the engine helps you slow down when you're braking. So anytime you can be on power whenever you need it is better, because you don't know what's happening behind you. You hope the guy behind you is not going to tap you. But if you're in neutral and your hand's on the shifter, you're not going to know what gear you're in. And it may not ever bite you in the butt, but I would rather not be in that position and be able to power out of it.
And that's fair. I did have shift fork issues.
Well, now that's not your fault. That is 100% Honda's fault. I would say out of the last 100 K20 Z3 transmissions I've rebuilt, 90 of them were because of that 3/4 shift fork where the tab breaks off. That is a known issue on that transmission.
Well, so I'll tell you, I know where it comes from, because they have that stupid delay in the clutch master. Okay. And everybody's trying to get up on the gear. Okay. And when you miss your window, or you miss it by being that 100th of a second too early on the delay, you can still cram that gear in. It'll still go. But it will only go that way for like a couple times, and then she's gone. Right? So.
Right. And I would say the majority of the transmissions that I rebuild for the Z3 have that problem. But I would say half of them are in swap cars that don't have that delay.
Okay.
As well. And we will when we rebuild the Champ Car engine drivetrain, I will probably get a S2000 clutch master to put in the car so we don't have that delay.
Hund makes one that's bolt-on now. It's a bolt-on piece. I don't know if it works or not. I mean, I'm assuming they're engineers and do this on the side. So
right.
It might work. The rumor, since you've had multiple EM1s, there's the EM1 clutch master works in the car also.
That also works.
So there's
yes.
that.
Yes.
I've seen guys welding gussets onto their tabs on those shift forks. I've seen all sorts of stuff being done to try to make that problem go away.
Right.
And I don't know if they're related, probably not, and it may be that rowing of the gears thing, but we see a lot of broken third, fourth gears. HPD makes hardened fourth gear set.
Yes.
And I'm assuming it's because they're on the row down, and it's just like it takes shock. That fourth gear takes the shock.
Yeah, if you're 1,000 RPMs off, or you really need to slow the car down and you slam it into a gear, that's huge torque on those gears. I have never broken a gear. And even when I was just doing time trial type stuff and I could do whatever I wanted to the engine and transmission, there was a couple engines I had that were 290, 300 horsepower, and I still didn't break a gear. And I was running on Hoosiers in those days. And I never broke a gear, but I didn't have a ton of hours on those transmissions either. Because some kid would come along and say, I want 300 horsepower. And I'd be like, well, I have one. Here's the dyno sheet. Do you want it? And they'd throw me money and I'd pull the engine out and rebuild another one.
That's how Chad makes his money, by the way.
Yeah.
So outside of the gearing and those shift forks, especially in the Z3 transmission. So all you people who want to swap your cars, leave those Z3 transmissions to me. They're mine. Stop getting them. There's no demand. They break. They're glass. Don't buy them. Buy the A2s. It's fine. They work great. On the electronic side, have you seen any? We're working on ECUs that are going to be 20 years old or so.
We are.
You know, everybody calls me rich because I have a newer car. I think Ash's car is technically newer than mine. Actually, so Sam. So I don't know why they call me rich, but I mean, my car is 16 years old now, 17 years old. So the factory engine harness, all that stuff, the heat soak from racing. What kind of electrical issues do you see going on with these cars?
The only issue I have seen is the throttle bodies. Brian Hooper, SCCA racer, has gone through 3 in a weekend. And we aren't sure if it's heat related.
Z3 drive-by-wires?
That is the Z3 drive-by-wire stuff.
I killed one.
You killed one. That is definitely a spare I would have if I was racing an 8th gen or anything drive-by-wire. I'd have a spare backup throttle body or 2 or 3. I haven't seen sensors go bad. VTEC sensors or VTEC solenoids, the whole unit goes bad much faster on the K series, especially the base model A3s and the K24, A4s, A8s, and A1s, because VTEC on those cars come on at 2,000 RPM. And then, it is always on and off. It probably has 20 times the cycle that any B series VTEC solenoid had. Just because in a street car, VTEC is controlled by RPM and map based where it engages. In part throttle, it's not on, but if you move the pedal a 16th of an inch, VTEC comes on to give you some extra power. So it's always on off on the street cars, and that's something I would definitely have is a VTEC solenoid as a backup.
I know in my car the speed sensor. Well, I killed a speed sensor. Okay.
Yes,
it's on the transmission. It's transmission specific, so you need to find a Z3 if you got a Z3 trans, and A2 if you got a A2 trans, because it's on different shafts. Different locations. They made them different. But that shut my car down.
Yeah, the car won't work. Your car won't work without that speed sensor. Go into limp mode. That I'd have that in an 8th gen specifically. I would have at least 2 clutch pedals. Those are notorious for breaking.
I just
as well.
bought the brace kit, so we'll see if the brace kit.
No, you bought the brace kit.
Works. Or how well that works, because I'm pretty hard on that kind of stuff. So, so I've had I did have the drive-by-wire throttle body failure. We don't know if it is heat or vibration issues, but ASM put a special, not a special. It's not special. It's an extra silicone coupling and adapter to the intake manifold. So the throttle body's like an inch off of the intake manifold, and it's a silicone adapter piece that they bolt up to. Well, it's aluminum adapter with a silicone sleeve that they put 2 bands on to isolate it. Apparently that helped them because they were burning through a bunch of them on their S2000s.
I would presume that the drive-by-wire stuff is an electronical vibration issue. I haven't taken one apart to know how many solders are in them. But, anytime you have a sensitive piece of equipment like a throttle body and you've got the vibration, and especially on a race car where you're going to a stiffer mount, those vibrations are translated across the board to everything.
I purposely don't have they're stiffer, right? It's not rubber. Okay. And I do have the front solid Bomba mount still on there, which I probably will take off. I don't know. But I think I have the street version of the Hasport inserts because vibration was going to be an issue. And
right.
Well, it'll still vibrate because it's not rubber. And
yes,
I also have ungodly under hood temps right now that I'm going to try to figure out this winter. So I can't rule out one way or the other.
Have you logged those at all?
No, but it came in the mail today. I just bought, oh man, it's bad. Just Race Parts from Australia sells this thing because I have to keep my OBD2 dongle plugged into my Flash Pro because I'm required to data log. So I can't just cheat and throw an OBD2 reader on there. I went to this all-in-one analog to digital setup that they sell. And I think with a warning light, the digital, it's not a dash because it only shows you whatever sensors you plug into it and set up your sensor board. A warning light that, and all the sensors, I think shipped from Australia was like $260. And they got really good reviews. So like nobody's like, this thing is so inaccurate. Nobody said that. So
yeah, that will be interesting to see the results.
But the reason I did get it is because it has a special port for intake air temperature, which I can add or move around. And that intake air temperature also can go to my transmission because I'm taking transmission temps next year.
Yeah, that's... So, in my K20s, I have seen 268 degree oil temps. In Redline, I run Redline 30 weight race oil. And everything I've read, they say that is fine on temperature for the oil. I think it's high.
I do too.
I don't like it that high. But the more data you can put on an engine, the better it is for you to figure out what's going on if you have a failure. In the case of the Champ car, you've got data there. You can go back and say, Mr. Rogers, sir, you over-revved the engine, and it might not show its head right away. It might be 5 hours later that you drop a valve, but you can go back and say possibly that this was the root cause of that failure. With a streetcar turned race car, you can't ever quite pinpoint that. But if we have a new engine build and put it in the car, and one guy zings it a couple times or slams it into fourth gear going into turn one to help slow the car down, and he's zinging it up to 9,500 because it's not a electronic rev limiter at that point, it's a mechanical. You can go back and say you're shifting wrong, which caused the ultimate failure.
Yep. So, what do you have anything else you want to, like, I know we wanted to get in the good and the bad, but I think it was really better to talk about what we need to be worried about. in these cars, because there's a lot of good to this engine setup, right? So whether it's going in a BRZ, an E30, a Miata, or where it should stay in a Honda, they put down good power. They rev like they should. No, they don't sound like a B series on crack, they sound different.
Right.
People for the longest time were like, oh, the transmissions are glass. They can be, but you have to learn to shift them correctly. Rowing down the gears is bad. I personally think rowing down the gears is why people miss shifts, because they start to drive the stick when you get out of sixth gear, and then they start finding the wrong ones on their way down. So, but is there anything else you think we have? Any other issues we need to worry about with the K series in general?
In general, no. We aren't drag racing. We don't have superchargers and turbos, and we aren't using nitrous on them. So they're basically a factory engine. H2 and H1 are factory stuff, but even in ST4 at a 280 to 300 horsepower level, there's not much I'm worried about with the engine itself. Most of the time it's going to be user error or build error that causes an engine failure. The K is just so good in stock form. You put down 225 horsepower on a Z3 stock bolt-on stuff, and that's not 205s at VIR full, but it's fast enough. You're doing 135 miles an hour in the straight.
Yeah.
In a stock car. That's going to be a fun car on track. And the prices are getting to $3,500 to $4,000 on a 8th gen SI. And that's a cheap entry level car.
I need you to send me all those.
That's cheaper than you can get a GSR swap
right.
for.
I need you to send me those. I want a 8th gen sedan for a daily driver / one lap of America car.
I have one. It's got some rear end damage. I'll let it go for about that.
I don't want rear end damage.
With a back. Oh, it's be an easy fix for you.
Sledgehammer and rattle cans.
Yep, sledgehammer and go.
We'll see. But all right, Chad. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. Hopefully this gets out a little bit more information to folks. The K series, the first one, just about swaps, was a pretty big hit, and I got lots more questions about it, and I answered them here and there, but I get K series questions all the time, so I wanted to do another one. I appreciate you coming on, man, and we're going to see you in March, right?
No problem. Thank you for having me. What's March? VIR full?
VIR full.
You'll see me. I don't know if I'll be racing.
You got to bring that K24 out. I want to see.
Yeah, I'm ready to run a 205.
All right. I think I think Bradfield's going to try to get down to like a 204. So,
Bradfield and Kevin Helms are going to absolutely fly in March, especially if Helms figures out his cooling issue with the FK8 with that new Civic Type R, and Bradfield's car is going to be stupid fast.
It's a monster on a stock J series engine.
Yes.
So, all right. I'm going to have you come back on because we need to talk H1 one day. I don't know when. I kind of want to wait till the rules are out. See if any changes come about or if we hear anything, early on in the season about what they're talking about for Honda Challenge H1, because I think the class deserves to be revitalized. The barrier to entry is a little bit more expensive than H2. I don't care what Justin says. But yeah.
There's There's more money. It depends on if you're building a purpose-built race car. Justin built a completely purpose-built race car. It was never going to be a street car. Most of these cars are street cars turned into race cars. And if you can build it yourself, you're saving a ton in labor. There's lots of guys that can't do that and have to write a check. And for me, the appeal for Honda Challenge is you don't have to write a check. Most of the time the guys in the paddock are going to help you if you need to change a transmission or swap an engine, put a clutch in, or help with doing a new cooling system. So camaraderie is a big part of why we go out and race.
There's little paddock gnomes that do body work sometimes. I mean, I've seen people get depressed and they're like, I'm not working on this car. And then in the morning, with loud music trying to cover up the hammers, they beat it out. So, all right, Chad. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.